Kryptonite. Lois liked to see the bullets bounce off Superman's chest, and of course she was proud when he leaned into a locomotive and saved the crippled orphan who had fallen on the tracks. Yet on those long nights when he was readjusting longitude or destroying a meteor headed right for some nun, Lois considered carrying just a smidgen of kryptonite in her purse, or at least making a tincture to dab behind her ears. She pictured his knees giving way, the color draining from his cheeks. He'd lie on the couch like a guy with the flu, too weak to paint the front porch or take out the garbage. She could peek down his tights if she wanted, or draw on his cheek with a ballpoint. She could even muss his hair and slap him around until he said, "Hey, what did I do?" Just like a regular boyfriend at last. This is a poem about something we've all done, which is looking at the photo of the poet on the back of the book of poems. And with that explanation, this is the poem called Photo. There's the poet on the flyleaf in the back. He's been waiting to greet me when I finish the very last sentence and then pause to contemplate the great themes of poetry: epiphany, love and sex, the beauty of things, and of course, death. I was about to get up and let the dog out, but that'll have to wait while I inspect the poet. His gaze is forthright and warm. I like his two shirts, dark over light, and look how one sleeve rides up to reveal a watch registering 3:15 forever. Now the dog is scratching at the scarred door, so out he goes, just as I imagine the poet at 3:30 or 4, released from the studio with its black backgrounds, the snap and tick of its huge cooling lights. Maybe the poet has a drink, covers a few lines in his notebook, or meets someone in a bar with stenciled cranes on the wall, cranes that throw back their heads and cry, "Now." Here, I whistle for the dog, but he refuses. It's all too wonderful. Trees and cars, little cadavers the cats leave, and a soiled bag of God knows what that he cannot wait to sink his teeth into. Everybody knew I was going back to college in September, and I'd sit in classes taught by foreigners and date sorority girls with white legs and stacks of dollar bills that Daddy sent. So, of course, according to those guys, I couldn't do anything right. And they'd say things like, "Do you need a slide rule to put one shingle on top of another? Or you think you're smart enough to put ice in that water?" And at noon, they talked around me. Then in August, there was this new guy, Clem. Clement is actually a pretty cool name, and Clement Clark Moore wrote The Night Before Christmas, but this Clem was gangly and raw-boned with bad teeth, and out of nowhere, the foreman said, "Ronnie here will teach you what to do." Clem couldn't be taught. He'd start the tar paper from the ridge. He couldn't tell a spiral from a barb. All his lines were off, and when I snapped the chalk line and showed him, he'd just say, "What's a fucking inch or two? No one's going to see it up here." We had to watch him constantly, and that cost us time. And when he got fired, Clem cussed and knocked the ladder down, so Dennis and Mike and I were trapped on the roof until I slid on my belly to the edge and then dropped to the ground, spraining one ankle. After that, they asked how my folks were. They said the girl I was dating and would leave behind was easy on the eyes. They told me to never drive a Chevy if I could help it. I stopped going straight home at 5. I liked standing around and drinking beer. We looked at the subdivision we were finishing up, the spindly trees and bare front yards, the streets with pretty names. But there were cracks in the concrete already, and mildew by some of the water heaters. "Meadowlark Lane, my ass," said Dennis, lifting his eyes to the work we had done, which was perfect and beautiful. Dear reader, so I'm not Grimm or Aesop. All they did was listen, write things down, and clean them up. My stories aren't that tidy. How could they be, considering who wrote them? I'm the wolf, I'm the pig. I'm the maiden and the ogre, I'm the king who loves his daughter, I'm the girl alone in the forest, I'm the stepmother, the orphan, the crone, the soldier, the beast. Do you want to sleep? Find another storyteller. Do you want to think about the world in another way? Come closer, closer. I need to whisper this in your ear. Hansel and Gretel. They both stutter. When one chews, the other chews. When one swallows, the other swallows. They answer to either name. They're wedded to each other. A white wedding, mariage blanc, perfect and chaste. And no wonder. Their parents want to kill them. Not the father so much. He's a beaten dog, a jellyfish, a limp noodle, and nobody. The first time they're led into the forest, Hansel's trick with white stones works, but they come back to the stinking cottage with its leaning outhouse and crumbling roof, and their mother is there eating rat soup, and she groans when she sees them. So out they go again, and this time the birds eat Hansel's trail of crumbs. They're famished when they reach the gingerbread cottage. So there's a witch, their mother is a bitch. Which one is really worse? Here there's lots to eat and a candy bed to wallow in. Not that that's so perfect. There's that oven and the possible Hansel on a stick. So they make it last as long as they can, fooling nearsighted Granny with a bone and lying through their teeth. They eat and they eat, filling up the moist recesses of their little bodies. Hansel's shed is comfy. Gretel visits him at night and they cling to each other. Neither will marry another. They promise to be brother and sister forever, and murderers and thieves. Next morning, they bake the witch, take the rubies and gold, and make their way home. They're rich now. Dad is elated to see them. Sadistic mom is dead. Happily ever after, right? Not so fast. Regularly, the siblings slip out from under their 400 thread count sheets and pad into their father's plush bedroom. They watch him sleep. They fondle the lockets they carry inside the witch's ashes. They like being together, just the two of them. They like revenge. So look, they'll all go on a picnic, Dad and the kids, back into the forest. Deep, deep, so deep, nobody will ever find him. When the final is over, Carlos hands me something and says, "Merry Christmas, man. This'll keep your big old bald head warm." Well, it's no snowflake ski cap, that's for sure. It's the color of quicksand. And Carlos and his friends wear theirs as they stand in the hall, all their hearts on one sleeve, and that rolled up to reveal a brutal tattoo. But now when I go to bed, I put on what my wife calls the Carlos hat. And it does keep my big old bald head warm. And in my dreams, I don't take shit from nobody.